ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD calls ගන්න SLT phone එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Good evening. Tonight, caving in. Private bus trade unions call off the planned strike as the government agrees to a 12.5% fare hike. Displeasure over FTA. Government Medical Officers Association to hold a one-day token strike tomorrow against the free trade agreement with Singapore.
Tomorrow's trade union action, which is scheduled to be started from 8 a.m.
Fuel racket. Petroleum Minister Arjuna Ranathunga reveals another fuel mafia.
Whoever who was involved, we are looking at punishing them and try to get the CPC right.
Delays in justice. Attorney at law Maitri Gunaratna calls on the government to address delays in civil cases.
Expedite it even for the general public, because the general public is paying taxes.
It's 9 o'clock on the dot. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to First at 9 on Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Weibo 2 is taking action to curb hate speech within Sri Lanka. We'll have a full report later on in the show. But first, we begin with the news of another bus fare hike. Bus owners' unions today decided to call off the strike action, which was planned to commence from this midnight, with the government agreeing to increase bus fares by 12.5%. Accordingly, the new minimum bus fare of 12 rupees will come into effect from the 22nd of May.
Following the recent fuel price hike, bus owners' unions demanded that the government increase fares, with one faction calling for a hike of over 10%, while another wanted an increase of 20%. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers yesterday approved the decision to increase bus fares by 6.6%. The minimum bus fare, however, of 10 rupees was not amended. In this backdrop, several bus unions held discussions today and had come to an agreement that they will engage in a strike if bus fares aren't further increased. Union members later held discussions with Deputy Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Ashok Abesinghe, which failed to produce positive results. Later in the day, another discussion was held at the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation regarding the matter. Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Nimal Siripal de Silva, however, did not participate in this discussion with members of bus owners' unions. Deputy Minister of the subject instead met with the union members. It had been agreed to increase bus fares by 12.5%, while the minimum bus fare to be increased up to 12 rupees. Following the decision, bus unions agreed to not engage in the strike action.
The Deputy Minister agreed to increase the minimum bus fare up to 12 rupees. That means they wanted us to reduce our demand of a 20% fare increase in 12.5%, and we agreed. So we will not engage in the strike action tonight. We believe that employees of this profession will be protected and that we can provide them a better pay. We agreed to amend new bus fares by presenting a cabinet paper at the meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers next Tuesday. The Cabinet yesterday gave approval to grant students from SITEM admissions to Sir John Kothalavala Defence University. This was revealed during the Cabinet media briefing held today, along with several other discussions. Meanwhile, journalists questioned the spokesperson on the statement made by a member of the Northern Provincial Council that 18th of May should be declared a massacre day of the Tamil people.
The Cabinet of Ministers convened yesterday, and during which it lent approval to several proposals. One such proposal which got the Cabinet's nod is the proposal to construct a 100-megawatt wind power plant in Mannar, which is funded by the Asian Development Bank. In accordance with the Cabinet-approved Standing Procurement Committee, the Cabinet of Ministers also gave its approval to set up currency exchange counters at the arrival terminal of the Bandaranaike International Airport beyond Sri Lanka Customs. In the meantime, issue of SITEM students was also on the agenda. The Cabinet gave approval to grant students from SITEM admissions to Sir John Kothalavala Defence University. Only students who registered between the 15th of September in 2009 and the 15th of May in 2017 will qualify for admission to KDU. They will fulfill the basic requirements of medical faculties in government universities. Meanwhile, the Cabinet determined to empower the Board of Management of Sir John Kothalavala Defence University to determine the necessities and conditions of admission. Furthermore, students passing the examinations from those absorbed to the KDU will also have their degrees conferred by the Sir John Kothalavala Defence University. In the meantime, journalists questioned Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne on the statement made by a member of the Northern Provincial Council that 18th of May should be declared the day of massacre of the Tamil people.
තුරුපළාත් සභාවේ ඇමතිවරයෙක් යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා පී ප්‍රභාකරන් මියගිය දවස රදමල ජනතාවගේ සංහාර දිනයක් කියලා. රජයේ ස්ථාවරය මොකක්ද ඇමතුමා ඒ ගැන? ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. දැන් මෙතර කාල JVP එක සමරුවේ තමන්ගේ විරු සමරුව. LTT සංවිධානය කියන්නේ ත්‍රස්තවාදී සංවිධානයක්. JVP එක ත්‍රස්තවාදී සංවිධානයක්. තුරේ අය එහෙම කරද්දී අපි මොකද්ද කරන්නේ දකුණේ? විරුවන් සමරනවායි කියලා කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒ විරුවන්ගේ අතෙන් ඝාතනය වුණේ කවුද? අපේම දරුවෝනේ. ඇමතුමා විරුවන් අතින් ඝාතනය වුණේ ත්‍රස්තවාදීන්. ත්‍රස්තවාදීන් විතරද ඝාතනය වුණේ? ඉතින් ඇමතුමා කියනවාද වෙනත් අයත් ඝාතනය වුණා කියලා කියනවා? පැහැදිලිවම යුද්ධයක කොහමද එහෙම ඝාතනය වෙන්නේ? 88 කැරැල්ලේ ඝාතන වුණ ඔක්කොම JVP ත්‍රස්තවාදී. ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් විජේවීර මහත්තයායි ප්‍රභාකරන් මහත්තයාගේ කරපු වෙනස්කම් කියන්න මට. කැබිනට් මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡාවේදී වගකීමෙන්ද ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා හමුදාව අතින් LTT ත්‍රස්තවාදීන්ට අමතරව මරණ ශ්‍රී ලංකා හමුදාවේ ඉන්න ඕනම නිලධාරියෙක් පිළිගන්නවා යුද්ධයකදී අනිත් නැත්තම් මොකද යුද්ධයේ උත්තර ප්‍රකාශය හරහා ඒ ජාත්‍යන්තරයෙන් එන චෝදනාවට සහායක් නේද ලැබෙන්නේ? නෑ කිසිම සහායක් නෑ. හමුදා මාධ්‍ය ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා ඔබතුමාගේ මතය දැනගන්න කැමතියි. ඒ වෙලාවේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට මම උත්තර දෙන්න කැමති නෑ වෙනම කන්ෆ්‍රන්ටේෂන් එකක් යනවා. එතකොට ලක්ෂ ගණන් මිනිස්සු අපේ මේ මැරුණානේ අමතුමා. මම කියන්නේ දැන් ජාතික සංහාර දිනයක් කියලා වුන් උතුරේ සමරනකොට අපේ දකුණේ මිනිස්සු මිය ගියානේ බෝම්බ වලින් මරාගෙන මරන බෝම්බ වලින්. ඒතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ සමරන්නේ අපේ දකුණේ මිනිස්සු මිය. මුන්නාන්සේට වඩා යුතුයකමක් මම ඉෂ්ට කරපු එක්කෙනෙක්. හොඳේ. මම මගේ පක්ෂත් අතහැරලා තනතුරු ඔක්කොම අතහැරලා මම ගියමිනියෙක් ආණ්ඩුවට ওই යුද්ධය අවසන් කරන්න. මතක තියාගන්න. වත්මන් රජයේ බලයට ඇවිල්ලා විජයග්‍රහණය සමරුව නැවැත්තුවේ යම්කිසි ඔබතුමාලා ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය තීරණයක් ගත්තා. අපි එහෙම කරපුවාම අර මියගිය මිනිස්සු සමරුවා වෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ ජාතික සංහාර දිනයක් රජයේ හැටියට ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න දෙනවද නැත්නම්? ඕකම තමයි ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණ 72 කැරැල්ල ගැනත් කියන්නේ සංහාරයක්. 89 කතාව කියන්නේ සංහාරයක්. මේ දකුණෙත් ඉන්න පේමන් දේශපාලඥයෝ වගේම ජාතිය කරපින්නාගෙන එන සැරේ තමන්ගේ තනතුරු බේර ගැනීම සඳහා එයා ඒක කරනවා.
The Disaster Management Centre warns that more rains can be expected in southern, western and Sabaragamu provinces of the country. Speaking to First at 9, the Deputy Director of the DMC said that hotline 117 is open for public and urges them to contact it during emergency situations. Meanwhile, Colombo experienced heavy rainfalls this evening as well.
Still the rain is expecting over southern part of the Sri Lanka as well as the western and Sabaragamu and central areas. Since yesterday there are a lot of rain being recorded but no incidents been reported except minor incidents in Kegol and Kandy districts. Disaster Management Centre is conducting evacuation drills and awareness programs in 10 districts in Sri Lanka. So and people will be alerted and evacuated and given all the awareness programs along with that training program. 117 call centre number is completely open for all upcoming matters and NBRO not been issued today a warning over the possibility of landslide, but they are keeping an eye with all the possibility of the landslide incidents in around the country.
In the meantime, Colombo experienced heavy rainfalls this evening.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe stresses that government is hopeful of increasing production in the agriculture sector through a new program to modernise the industry. He made this remark at the launch of the agriculture sector modernisation project held in Colombo yesterday.
Rural economy has become a problem. Agriculture production has decreased mainly because young people are moving away from the industry. The government is focused on bringing Sri Lanka par with the global agriculture industry transformations. This is why we hope to introduce a program to modernise the agriculture sector. This will increase agri-production, reduce prices of produce while increasing their value. This will help us protect the agricultural economy of the country, although there aren't many producers. We hope to reduce the debt burden and increase production within the next few years. As of now, we're supposed to pay back an annual debt of $2,500 million. We hope to bring an economic transformation with a vision in the next decade. We want to triple our foreign earnings and export revenue. That would lead us to strengthen our economy while mitigating poverty.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga today revealed that a fuel racket was in play on the day of the fuel price hike. Addressing a program held at Gampaha Divisional Secretariat today, the minister said that these racketeers purchased fuel at previous low prices prior to the price increase and sold it later at a profit. He added that any official found to be implicated in the racket will be brought to book as it incurred approximately 10 million rupees in losses to the government.
After the price increase from the CPC, there has been a major disaster. They have sent about 74 tanks from Kolonnawa and Muthurajawala. At the moment, the loss is about 90 lakhs. We have already started the investigation, and within a week or two we will get all the proper numbers, and we are looking at how we can recover the money back, plus people who were involved in, whether it's a senior officers or whoever who was involved. We are looking at punishing them and try to get the CPC right. From Kolonnawa, there have been 52 tanks have gone. From Muthurajawala, 22 tanks have gone out. So from the CPSTL, we are looking at doing this investigation and try and get hold of the culprits.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa today released a statement to media and weigh in on the matter of recent fuel price hike and explain the crude oil prices during his tenure and since. He says that the present price of $70 per barrel is quite low compared to the average price of crude oil during his full 9 years in power. While saying that the price of a barrel of crude oil was around $73 when he took office as the president back in November 2005, the former president went on to say that the price reached a peak at $160 in the June of 2008. He added that even as late as in August 2014, the prices were over $103, and it was only in the last 3 months of 2014 that oil prices started to decline. He stressed that when the government changed in January 2015, the price of a barrel of crude had gone down to $51 per barrel, and oil prices remained low for 3 years. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa also alleges that the government of good governance had the benefit of very low crude oil prices, leading to saving totaling over $5 billion in foreign exchange over the past 3 years. He charges that despite such, the economy steadily declined and development work ceased completely during that period. Secretary to the United National Freedom Front, Attorney-at-Law Maithri Gunaratne is appreciative of the government's move to amend the Judicature Act, expediting cases against corrupt politicians. But at the same time, he says that the government should also pay attention to civil cases dragging for decades. He made these remarks addressing a media briefing in Colombo this afternoon.
The government has brought an amendment to the Judicature Act where they are trying to expedite the cases against all corrupt politicians and any corruption which has taken place in the country. Now, that is an excellent thing which the government has done. Although it is a bit too late in the day, 3 years have passed, and only after 3 years they have woken up and realized there is no mechanism to take forward the court proceedings, and the court proceedings are getting dragged. But when you take the civil courts in this country, you file a partition action, sometimes it goes on for 3 generations, 30, 40 years. You file a land action, it takes 30, 40 years. So generally, when you take the court proceedings in this country, once you go to court, you are lucky if you can come out within 3 to 4 years. The norm is a court case to finish takes about 10 to 12 years and sometimes even more. You have failed to bring the wrongdoers to book of the last government. Since you have failed, what you are trying to do now is, because you have failed, you are trying to expedite the court process. Don't expedite it only against the members of the last government. Expedite it even for the general public, because the general public is paying taxes. They are going through untold hardship to finish a case, and cases are being dragged on for years and years and years.
Almost a year has passed since an intensive care unit was established at the National Dental Hospital. Although the facilities are in place, a shortage in human resources is keeping this valuable unit from functioning. Officials at the hospital highlight the lack of anesthesiologists as the reason behind the newly built intensive care unit being left unused.
The National Dental Hospital of Sri Lanka is the only dental hospital in the country. It commenced operations in 2015 and an intensive care unit was built at the hospital almost a year ago. But the unit remains in brand new condition owing to the inability to get the unit to function. Director of the National Dental Hospital, Dr. Chandana Gajanayaka, said that although it is equipped with all necessary facilities, lack of anesthesiologists is stopping the unit from commencing operations. He added that a request is made from the government in this regard and operations at the intensive care unit can commence even if anesthesiologists are provided from the schedule. The Government Medical Officers Association too expressed their views on the issue, speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
The sad part is that up to now, none of the officials or none of the other administrators has raised the issue with the GMOA, because the GMO is a legitimate stakeholder in the transfer board of the MO transfers, and up to now this issue is not discussed and representations are not being made to the GMOA regarding this. For the GMO Executive Committee has decided that we will ensure that this vacancy is fulfilled within the Dental Institute, so that this issue will be sorted out in very soon.
In the meantime, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says that there is a scarcity of anesthesiologists in the country and the exact number required cannot be provided. He, however, said that all intensive care units continue to function despite shortages. The minister also expressed views on reports suggesting that the PET scanner installed at the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama with public donations is yet to be used for patient care. He said that the dye required for the scanner is imported from India and during transit and storage, 80% of it is wasted, leaving just 20%. He added that the government will import it and also take measures to manufacture it in Sri Lanka.
Former parliamentarian Anuruddha Polgampala, who was arrested by the CID, has been remanded until the 18th of May after being produced before the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court this morning. He was arrested by the CID for alleged fraud of 8 million rupees. Polgampala was recently appointed as the chairman of the State Timber Corporation, but his appointment was suspended a few days later due to concerns raised by several parties. A former member of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Polgampala joined the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in January this year, pledging support to President Maithripala Sirisena. Social media company Viber emphasizes that it will act in their fullest capacity to prevent circulation of hate speech and discriminatory content through their application. Responding to questions during an interview with First and Nine on the country's recent ban on social media platforms, Head of Business Development for Southeast Asia for Viber, Anubhav Nair, said that Sri Lankan authorities had not contacted them with any requests to mitigate the issue revolving around the ban.
Sri Lanka is actually one of the relatively bigger markets that we have. And the reason why I say that is Sri Lanka's, I think, population is close to 20 million. And we have nearly 10 million registered users over here. Personally, I've seen the IT infrastructure in the country is very, very good. Connectivity is excellent. You travel across Sri Lanka and in most places you'll see internet to be very, very good. I think the prospects that we see in this country are very, very positive.
So in that regard, now recently we saw the government temporarily banning social media platforms, including Viber, because they were platforms that could be shared hate speech and then discriminatory content. What does Viber do to prevent that kind of a thing happening?
In such a case, the government obviously will always take decisions basis all that is happening in a particular country, and we respect that. We follow the judicial system, and if there is a specific court order or something which is clearly highlighting where the issue is, then we certainly help address that. We do comply with the local judicial systems across the country.
Did the government contact you by any chance to mitigate issues such as that?
In this case, no, we didn't get contacted specifically by the government. Our understanding sitting outside was that I think some of the other platforms is where this was really happening.
Can you guarantee that this kind of a thing wouldn't happen through Viber?
Okay, so it really depends. You can never guarantee that it won't happen, because I can't guarantee you from not typing something and sending it to someone. What we can do is that in case such a situation arises and there is a clear documented proof which shows and attributes it, and it's against the law of the country, then naturally it would be addressed.
Now here's a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Inter-University Bhikkhu Federation engaged in a protest march today demanding the government to provide opportunities for more students to be enrolled for the subject of Buddhist philosophy. They arrived at the University Grants Commission and later commenced a Satyagraha campaign at Lipton Circus. Former Military Intelligence Director and Chief of Staff of the Army, retired Major General Amal Karunasekara, was further remanded until the 30th of May. Major General Karunasekara was arrested on the 6th of April in connection with abduction and assault of journalist Keith Noya in 2008 in Dehibala. Authorities have commenced the repair work at the underground vehicle park at the Badula town. The parking facility, which was constructed recently, was rendered unusable during rainy season as water flows into the park. Other Derana raised the issue a few days ago. A 12-year-old child and his father in the area of Pavakkulam in Vaunia died after being electrocuted. The electricity supply wire which they were caught in was set up to trap animals. A resident from Hambantota who was arriving from Singapore was arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayaka for attempting to smuggle 20 gold biscuits. The goods were concealed in the passengers' garments and are valued at 20 million rupees.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone, on to business news now. The Government Medical Officers Association is to launch an island-wide 24-hour token strike action from 8 a.m. tomorrow. Secretary of the GMOA, Dr. Haritha Aluge, said that the strike action is being organised against the recently signed free trade agreement with Singapore and proceeding with the Economic and Technology Cooperation Agreement with India.
As you all know, the reason for the trade union action is Singapore Free Trade Agreement, which was signed in January 2018 without informing the country and even without informing the parliament. And also they are planning to proceed with the ETCA agreement with India. GMO General Committee has decided that we should protest against this unacceptable move, and therefore we have decided that we will go ahead with the declared token strike from tomorrow 8 a.m.
Meanwhile, issuing a communique on the free trade agreement signed with Singapore in January this year, Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade Malik Samaravikrama today said there are factions who make false statements about the agreement. Responding to claims that unlimited Singaporean workers and professionals will be allowed to enter the country, the minister emphasized that the agreement only allows officials of managerial positions between companies and tour guests related to investment will be given permission to visit Sri Lanka. He also went on to stress that Singapore nationals or permanent residents of Singapore will not be given the opportunity to enter into the service sector. Let's take you to the stock market now. Sri Lankan shares rose for a second straight session today and closed at a one-week high. The all-share price index ended 0.42% firmer at 483.47, its highest close since the 9th of May, and the turnover stood at 455.2 million rupees. Now here is Imeshu Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with a full report.
The turnover was 455.23 million rupees with 14.4 million shares changed hands in 3,920 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,028.13 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 113.56 million rupees and foreign sales were 120.87 million rupees. There were two crossings today and the crossing turnover was 48.37 million rupees.
Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to international news now. North Korea today suspended high-level talks with South Korea scheduled for later in the day, citing US-South Korean military exercises that is set to go against the trend of warming North-South ties. North Korea's official Korean news agency also cast doubt on whether next month's summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and US President Donald Trump could go ahead as planned.
North Korea was due to hold talks with their southern counterparts today in what was billed as high-level talks following warming ties between the North and the South. Early in the day, however, the North announced that it was suspending the talks due to US-South Korean military exercises. South Korea's Unification Ministry, which handles ties with the North, said yesterday that today's meeting was due to focus on plans to implement a declaration that emerged from an April 27th Inter-Korea summit in the border village of Panmunjom, including promises to formally end the Korean War and pursue complete denuclearization. North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency called the US-South Korean Max Thunder air combat drills, which it said involved US stealth fighters and B-52 bombers, a provocation, and said Pyongyang had no choice but to suspend the talks. Looking at the bigger picture, North Korea's move throws into question an unprecedented summit between the two leaders, Kim Jong-un and US President Donald Trump, scheduled for next month. Any cancellation of the June 12th summit in Singapore, the first meeting between a serving US president and a North Korean leader, would deal a major blow to Trump's efforts to score the biggest diplomatic achievement of his presidency. The US State Department said yesterday that it was continuing to plan for a summit between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un next month, despite a report that Pyongyang was suspending talks with the South over US military drills. A spokesman of South Korea's Unification Ministry said that Pyongyang's decision to unilaterally postpone high-level talks between the two Koreas, citing annual joint air drills between South Korea and the United States, was not in line with the spirit of Panmunjom Declaration and was regrettable.
Jailed Malaysian leader Anwar Ibrahim was granted a full pardon today and walked free out of a hospital in Kuala Lumpur where he was undergoing treatment. The 70-year-old smiled and waved to supporters and was surrounded by his family, lawyers and prison guards before getting into a car and driving to the palace for an audience with the king.
The Pardons Board in Malaysia's capital met today to discuss the release of jailed political leader Anwar Ibrahim. Later, he was granted a full pardon and walked free out of a hospital in Kuala Lumpur where he has been undergoing treatment. Once seen as a future leader, Anwar Ibrahim was jailed 3 years ago on sodomy and corruption charges after falling out with the government, what he described as trumped-up charges. Malaysia's new Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad sought a pardon for Anwar and promised to step aside for Anwar to become Prime Minister within 2 years. Last week's shock election victory followed a reconciliation between Anwar and 92-year-old Mahathir, who sacked and jailed him 20 years ago during his first stint as Prime Minister. Anwar said he had forgiven Mahathir and stressed he would give full support to the new government, though not immediately be part of it.
Now here's more stories from across the world.
Tom Wolfe, an early practitioner of new journalism who captured the mood and culture of America across 5 decades with books including The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, The Right Stuff and The Bonfire of the Vanities, has died at the age of 87. Wolfe, who had a knack for coining phrases such as radical chic and the me decade, died of an unspecified infection in a New York hospital. James Harrison, nicknamed the Man with the Golden Arm, made his last blood donation in Australia after donating blood 1,173 times and saving the lives of over 2.4 million babies over several decades. The 81-year-old has an antibody in his blood that is used to make the life-saving medicine Anti-D, and Harrison is a pioneer in the Anti-D program, giving blood since 1967, which has earned him a Guinness World Record for donations and a Medal of the Order of Australia for his ongoing support of the service. A villager was taken by surprise after spotting a wild giant panda on his way while looking for his cattle in the mountainous area in the southwest of China's Sichuan province. Every time he called from behind, the giant panda paused right away and looked back at him. Russian President Vladimir Putin drove a truck unveiling the auto section of a new road and rail bridge linking Russia to the annexed Crimea Peninsula yesterday, defying Ukraine, which said the move showed cynical disregard for international law. Putin, at the wheel of a heavy Kamaz truck, drove the full 19 kilometers across the bridge from the Kerch Strait, which some Russians call Putin's Bridge, and which is designed to link Crimea into Russia's transport network. Built at a cost of $3.6 billion, the bridge is said to be the longest dual-purpose span in Europe.
On to sports news now. Sri Lanka Cricket announces that it made 2.12 billion rupees surplus last year, up from 64 million rupees a year ago, with revenues doubling to 6.19 billion rupees after turning around from financial crisis in 2015. The SLC made the announcement while handing over its audit annual accounts to Minister of Sports Faisal Mustafa. Sri Lanka Cricket's financials ventured into positive ground during the year 2017, with its liquidity level recording a surplus of 1.97 billion rupees. It is the first time since 2010 that SLC saw its liquidity levels record a positive figure. During the year 2016, the liquidity levels of the SLC stood at a negative of 572 million rupees, while in 2015 it was around a high of 985 million rupees, with its worst year being the year 2011, which amounted to a negative of 4.25 billion. Meanwhile, the SLC has also managed to bring down its liabilities from around 4 billion rupees stood at 31st December in 2015 to 1.3 billion rupees as of present. A bit of tennis news now. 15th seed Thomas Berdych is out of the Italian Open after he was knocked out by Denis Shapovalov. Elsewhere, David Goffin also came through 3 sets to overcome home favourite Marco Cacinato to book a place in the 3rd round.
Denis Shapovalov knocked out 15th seed Thomas Berdych from the Italian Open yesterday after coming back from a dreadful first set to win 1-6, 6-3, 7-6. The Canadian now faces Robin Haase in 2nd round. David Goffin, meanwhile, also moved into the 3rd round despite losing the first set after serving for the set point at 5-2. The Belgian recovered to win the next 2 sets against home favourite Marco Cacinato 5-7, 6-2, 6-2, and will now face the winner of the match between Argentina's Juan Martín del Potro and Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Looking at the temperatures for the next 24 hours, northeastern and southeastern parts of the country are set for high temperatures, with temperature in Mullaitivu and Ampara set to hit 31 degrees Celsius. Nuwara, as usual, will be much cooler at 21 degrees Celsius. Moving on to your rain forecast now, showers can be expected in many parts of the island, particularly in central, Sabaragamu, southern and western provinces. People in Anuradhapura, Trincomalee, Batticaloa, Kalmune and Kandy districts might have to brace themselves for thunder showers during the day. That's it from your weather centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Before we wrap things up for tonight, we like to leave you with aerial visuals of Adalacheni, situated in the Ampara district. Adalacheni is surrounded by Kaliodai River from the north, Bay of Bengal from the east, and a vast stretch of paddy fields from the west. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.